I'll make the motion to bring Ryan to the table.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Me.
Steph. Okay. All right, we will open the meeting. And we have a application to subdivide a lot. We have comments. We have comments from you.
Yes.
I remember seeing them. There they are.
My comments were, however, presented to the engineer beforehand, and his changes have been incorporated.
Okay. All right. Can you introduce yourself and give us an overview of things?
Good evening, members of the planning board. My name is Ryan Lavelle. I'm with Lavelle Associates, the surveying firm that prepared these plans. I'm here tonight representing Nick Clark, the applicant, as well as Layton Family Trust, the owners, in connection with a minor 2-lot subdivision located at 18 Michael Bennett Road in Brentwood, which is also identified as tax map 213, lot 19. The original parcel is 8.43 acres in total, and under the subdivision proposal, the property will be divided into 2 lots. The existing dwelling on the property will remain with 3.57 acres, and the new lot will contain 4.86 acres. The division was carefully considered, taking into account the wetlands sections located at the rear of the property, as well as the most suitable location for new dwelling, well, septic system, driveway, and other essential infrastructure. The new lot, which will be developed with a single-family residence and detached garage, is positioned to avoid encroachment on the wetlands and to assure the development complies with environmental and zoning regulations. For some background, the applicant, Nick Clark, is the grandson of the homeowners at this address. He will be constructing his new dwelling on the lot. This subdivision will allow for the reasonable development of the land while preserving its natural features and meeting all applicable regulations. I'd like to emphasize that no variances have been requested or granted for this project. In terms of coordination with the planning board and staff, we have worked diligently to address all concerns when raised. After receiving the planning board's memo from Glenn Greenwood on March 5th, we responded quickly and incorporated and requested the change in the plans. This included modifications to improve clarity and accuracy. We also received an engineering review letter outlining several additional corrections. We promptly made the necessary adjustments, most notably clarifying some labels, specifying the approximate landscaping areas, added more detail on the driveway location and grading. We issued a response letter explaining these changes, which we believe fully addressed the concerns by the town engineer. At this point, I appreciate the time and attention, and if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Before we get started, we should consider invoking jurisdiction.
Yes, very, very well spoken.
I'll make a motion to vote jurisdiction.
Second.
Any discussion? Everything, the application's complete. Yes. All right. All in favor of invoking jurisdiction?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Questions for the applicant?
I have a question for
Yeah.
Glenn. Just
Yeah.
kinda, I know you said that, and the applicant indicated that they addressed your comments. Could you just kind of walk through that a little bit and see and indicate if there's anything outstanding that?
Yeah, there is nothing outstanding from mine. If you look at the list, he has changed the scale to make that work much more uniformly across the plan set, so thank you very much for that. Changed the lot designations so that they are A and B. Did the monumentation. Fixed the, oh, you know what the one I didn't see is fix the, would you scroll downward a little bit so we can get to the front of that, the top of that plan? Oh, no, the other way. Left or right? No, that's the, you got to the bottom of the plan, can you get to the top of the plan? Yes, he did. He changed the setback along the front property line. So yes, he accomplished everything that I had asked for in my, I had 8 comments and he fixed all of them.
Terrific, thank you.
And then TEC's comments. Please delineate the limit of tree and vegetation clearing.
Yeah, basically for that on the, it actually shows up on all 3 sheets. We sketched in what could approximately be like an edge of cut, edge of yard situation. It's not actually showing up on the screen there. Might be an older version of the plan as a PDF there, but in essence, we drew what would be edge of woods around the area of the home, and we think that that clarifies for the engineering what they were looking for. I had some talks with the town on if there was any sort of vegetative buffers that I had to worry about. There was not, so I just did it to the best ability of what I think somebody would do with the lot when they started working on it.
So is that the actual place where the proposed dwelling will
It's-
be, or is that
no,
just an estimate? of
It's
the
an
property?
estimate. I'm not sure the owner knows exactly until maybe they get some trees cut in there and they have a better idea of the site. It's what I envisioned, but that doesn't mean that he's gonna stay true to it. The same thing with where he wanted the garage. He wanted the garage shown because he knows he wants a detached garage, but is that gonna move towards Michael Bennett? Is it gonna move away? I'm not sure.
I don't have any right to ask this, I just need to know. Is that gonna be a 2-story house? That's a 10,000 square foot house.
Yeah, or,
My thought would be that it's a ranch.
Cause that's,
it was
That's-
10,
that's
it was
enormous.
5,000.
if it was,
Yeah.
if it's 1 story. it's
1 story,
5,000.
5,000, yeah, 5,000.
Yeah,
But I
he
know,
told
but that's
me-
just an estimate.
He told me 84 by 62. I drew it on there. It fit in the setbacks. Do I think he's gonna build a house that big? I doubt it.
That's
but
huge.
He did tell me ranch though.
I mean, I have no right to ask.
Is he inviting Brentwood over for a party, or?
Well, there'll be enough bedrooms.
Yeah.
TEC's second comment about the driveway, material, spot grades, and contours,
Yep.
and a note on the plan about the driveway.
Yep. Unfortunately, I don't have my letter back that I did to TEC on me right now.
Okay.
That I sent. However, basically, we just expanded the plan, did grading and stations on the driveway to, again, what possibly, I don't know if you have my response letter. Yeah, that might help me. Okay. Yeah, we added some stations and some possible grading on what a driveway may look like, and added the note and stuff that a driveway shall be, built to Brentwood standards, with whether that be gravel, pavement, etc. The grade shouldn't exceed X, that type of thing.
And the other, you've got the letter,
Yeah,
erosion controls, well radius,
yeah.
wetlands. Have those all
So-
been addressed?
Yeah, we labeled the radius on both the parent property and the new one. Number 5 was please note if the wetlands are prime or not. Right at the bottom, I have limits of wetland not designated as prime. Erosion control was, I believe, a note that I did that was silt fences or equivalent during construction. And that addresses, I believe, all the concerns from TEC.
Is he actually gonna have a 60 by 60 garage?
Again, hey, I don't know. I don't.
We just want to know all
The-
about the house.
I get it. I just, when I had my preliminary meetings with Nick, I was like, hey, they want to see a house, where a possible house could go, and what you want to do on this property, and he threw some sizes at me, and, whether or not he's gonna build them that big, I don't know, but,
Pretty good sized garage.
yeah. Yeah.
Well, you gotta have 3 of them in there, right?
Yeah, I would be shocked if he ended up doing a 60 by 60 garage and an 84 by 62 house. That would be something to behold, but nonetheless, it fits on the property within the building setback, so.
Yeah.
They're just building blocks.
Yeah,
They
but
show the
Yeah.
potential of the property. Not
Envelopes.
the actual, but the
It
potential.
just piques my curiosity, that's all.
yeah. We'll see what he actually ends up doing.
Any other questions from the board before we open to public comment? Anybody here wanted to add anything? Any questions?
Um,
Did you,
oh no, I was just gonna ask them to come to the microphone.
oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, I think it was asking what
Yeah, please.
the address
I think I,
could be or
tapped
would
there you
be.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't
That is a good
determine
question.
that.
I'm sorry?
I think
The
that would be
address?
assessing.
No, you don't do that.
I'd ultimately speak with Daphne on that.
Yeah, that's right. 10, 12, 14, one of those.
His choice, no, I don't know. It's not up to us to decide.
No, it's assessing, I would figure. Or the police, I mean, the fire department sometimes decides to.
Yeah,
Great, yeah, if we could just have it come to the microphone.
I'm Bill Thoreau. I own 8 Michael Bennett. So this is kind of going where that huge garage is going to be the closest to my property line. But in back of that lot, there's like that kind of. Can you just tell me what that is? It's like that jagged kind of runs down and then behind the house.
This, are you referring to the setback line?
Oh, is that what that is?
Can you point close? With this stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's setbacks.
Setback.
Septic setback, building setback.
Okay. Excellent.
All right, Glenn, are we missing anything?
I would just say that we should have a final sign-off letter from
Condition
TEC.
on, yeah. All right. Anything else? Would someone like to make a motion for approval conditioned on final comments from TEC and their comments being satisfactorily addressed?
I will make a motion, repeating what Kristen just said.
I'll second it.
Are you good on the motion?
Yeah, motion to approve. Steph, Brian West, second. The conditions, the only one I could gather was a final sign-off letter from TEC.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure that was it.
Monumentation? Monumentation?
Yep.
As a condition?
Everything in your letter is addressed. Right. Good. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Pretty straightforward.
Appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, good luck.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
This anymore for a while.
Sure, Nick will wait you over to his garage.
I'll be envious.
All right.
Either to this.
Sounded like it was.
I thought this guy.
Some of the guys.
Excuse me, sorry. We have some other business if you guys don't mind going out in the hall.
Take care.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. Really well. How are you doing?
So I'm Brad Williams, the owner of the fledgling Brentwood Motorsports. So it's just, I guess
okay.
we were gonna decide whether or not I can have it at that location.
Thanks, Mark.
Somewhere in here.
Sorry.
One of the questions from the state in their letter was, are there separate units at this location?
Yes.
They
Yeah,
wanted to know.
Yankee Park is a grouping of separate units.
I'll be in unit C2.
Can you just describe what you're hoping to accomplish on the site?
Sure. So I have no delusions of grandeur. I just, see myself as a pretty small footprint, just selling maybe 10, 15 cars a month. I'm not going to be parking them along the road with giant for sale signs or anything like that. Everything, my marketing is done almost exclusively on the internet. So most of my showings are by appointment, so I don't necessarily have to like litter your roadway with a bunch of cars with, giant neon letters on them or anything. So yeah, so pretty modest operation. Just, like I say, probably 10, 15 cars a month.
Was it like private appointment type of thing?
For the most part. I mean, according to the letter of the law of the state, like I need to be there on site in case someone comes by. I don't anticipate a lot of foot traffic,
Like
just because the nature of the location.
so people are just like calling you to spec out a vehicle and then you get it for them?
That's right. Well, no, I would have a small inventory that I would mostly be storing inside of the bay and then maybe right in front of it, but it's all pretty far in the back of the lot. And yeah, so I do a lot of marketing on Facebook and then on a website that I'm building, and people find my cars that way for the most part.
And the reason I asked that in particular is because historically on this site, we have been very restrictive about the number of vehicles that can be displayed. And
Right.
we have said on several dealer applications like this, that there can be no outside display because it's such a constrained
Yeah.
parking situation.
We have approved it in the past for this exact same location and has the same exact restrictions.
Yeah, what you were saying about marketing the cars and parking them by the road, that kind of thing, like that's actually part of the site plan for a property would say what you're allowed to do.
Okay.
And there is none. Yeah.
It's unfortunate this particular piece of property does not have a designated display area.
Oh, right. That's what I was trying to articulate earlier, is that I have no desire to have my cars out on the highway or anything. I'm just going to have them back in my lot, mostly stored indoors.
Because it stored indoors, I don't think would cause any problem for the board. But if you want to have 10 or 12 cars, you can't put those all inside.
Well, 10 or 12, I'm between 10 and 15 sales per month, so the cars are constantly rotating, and I'm buying new ones probably 3-4 times a week, that kind of thing. So I mean, if any cars needed to be kept outside, the owners of the building, said it was perfectly fine if I would just have a couple in the parking area, way in the back next to my unit. Again, not out at the highway on display, just parked there.
Just for context, and I apologize for my ignorance, what is this near on 125, just so I can orient myself?
Duquesne Park is right across from the rec center.
Oh, perfect. Okay, thank you.
For clarity, Giganti Park is split into 3 pieces of property. It is the one, if you're standing on 125, looking at the property, is the one furthest to the right.
Okay.
If you need a display, I can show you if you.
I think I got an idea, but that'd be great, actually, just
Yeah,
to
absolutely,
Just to
absolutely.
make sure I'm thinking of the right.
Just give me 1 second to orientate myself. Right there.
Okay.
This is the one. 183. That's on the
okay.
application, correct? 183?
187, I believe.
187, yeah.
Yeah,
187?
That one on the other, there we go.
Okay, yeah, I recognize that. Okay, cool. Thank you very much. That's very helpful.
Yeah.
Will you be working on the
187.
cars at all?
Minorly, but for the most part, I'll hire mechanics for that. And I have a contract already signed to have them inspected by a mechanic up the street, and he'll probably be doing most of my repairs. But here and there, sure, if it's something pretty simple.
But if somebody works on the car, you'll take the car to them.
I'm sorry.
Will they be working on the cars at your place or at theirs?
Well, primarily at their garage, but then also if it's something that I can take care of,
Yeah,
something small,
I understand.
then
Yeah.
I would do it at my place.
So, Mark, did you pull up the plan? So this is an approved use without display.
Correct.
Correct. I don't have a plan set on my computer. I have one in physical form, I believe.
But you,
I'd have to
you
dig
looked
it out.
at it.
We did look at it together, yes. And then we actually,
Looked at the.
we
history.
drove there. Did we drive there together?
No.
Oh, I went there at lunch and looked. Yeah.
Okay. So are you following? So there's no display
That's perfect.
of, or storage of vehicles outside is what's approved at that site. And as far as the question about working on the cars, that, you know, that's also a different use, like actually being, you know, a mechanic and working on the cars, so. You guys have questions?
We're just getting back to the storage of the cars. So you said you might have a couple outside at any one time. Now, you got placards on them, you know, for sale
Nope.
or no?
Nothing at all.
Just
Car
storage
is
all,
sitting there.
again, doing your internet marketing.
That's right.
And your customer.
So would that technically violate the no storage? I mean, I think he was talking about, you know, parking, you know, a few in the back or.
It would, from the historic take from the board has been, there can be no display outside of the unit. That would mean no units outside of the structure,
No vehicles outside.
no vehicles outside.
Well, if that's absolutely necessary, I can work around that.
Does that impact signage as well?
No,
No, okay.
you can do the required.
What's
signage.
the other option? Like you would have to submit a revised site plan, get it approved if you wanted to. Go to the next step.
Correct.
So if he drives there with his own car or one that he's using, he cannot park that outside either?
No, of course it
Of course you
That's
can.
just-
can. Every
Daily
unit
use.
has a designated number of spaces out there.
And the designated spaces for this
Are,
one?
they're basically delegated for customer parking. That's
Okay.
how it was done when the
Yep.
plaza went in.
No, you have the two cars.
So I think, yes, he
Yeah.
has legitimately two cars to that unit, two spaces to that unit
Yep.
for use.
So when you say you have you know, you could work around, what's the idea for purposes of
Well,
working around?
if for some reason I had to get a larger inventory or something like that, like say maybe tax season next year, I have relationship with people where I could just store vehicles off-site if I needed to, and then just bring them here to sell it.
Fair enough.
But that other discussion was if longer term you wanted to do something different, you would have to go back to the board
Okay.
or the owner of the
It-
property.
I mean, the owner
would have
would
to
have
come back to the board.
Sign a letter of authorization allowing him to do it.
Yeah. You'd have to modify the site plan. Any other discussion or information we should have before we?
I believe not.
Okay. Someone want to make a motion?
Apparently not.
Trying to think how we word it.
Well, it's on the,
It's on the permit.
it's on the permit. It says no display or storage of vehicles outside. And that's actually one of the parts of the form, you know, can motor vehicles be displayed or stored, yes or no? It's no. And then we're, you know, recommending to the state to approve or not.
So I make a motion that we recommend to the state to approve.
Yeah, or aren't you moving to accept the permit as worded?
As written.
That's right.
Okay.
I'll second.
Does this have, oh yeah, it's got the unit on here. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Can you include the language from the permit in the motion? with the
restrictive
unit,
language.
yeah, the 187 New Hampshire Route 125, Unit C2. And it's restricted, no display or storage of vehicles outside.
Sure.
Yeah,
Alright.
that's what I said.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right.
you.
Um,
And that's it.
That is it. That is
Yep,
Do we
good
sign
luck.
this
Thank you
one?
for your time.
Yep.
Do we give it to-
Either I could sign it or you could sign it. I mean,
I just.
I brought it for you to sign. If you, there's a space at the bottom.
But we mail it.
Yes, correct, yes. That was
Yes, it
sent to
doesn't- The gentleman doesn't take it.
no, that's an application that he submitted to the state, that the state has handed off to the planning board for its approval.
You guys aren't allowed to have clicky pens anymore.
Oh, do I click my pen?
Both of you are-
I don't really like this pen for what I'm doing right now, but it was the
I
one that
love
grabbed.
mine.
All right, I'll let you put the planning board phone number in there. All right. Site walk, Saturday. I have to go to a memorial service and in another state, and so I'm not gonna be able to make it.
You're not gonna be there.
I sort of miscalculated the,
Typically, it's just
Drive.
me and Bruce, so it'll be just be me.
I'll be there.
I'm planning to go, barring any catastrophes with young children. I'm planning to bring an entourage, so hopefully.
Cleathis is the property manager that will be there?
Mr. Lavelle will be there, not the Mr. Lavelle that was here this evening, but his father.
and is he the road?
He's the engineer.
Last time, we did have a member of the public who did the site walk with us and had concerns, but they, dated back to when the approvals were done several years ago, so. So somebody needs to take notes if there's any discussion about, something that needs to be noted, and have a sign-in sheet,
Thanks.
and that's.
I already knew that.
All right. Anything else on that? And there's information in the packet here, right, on the road?
River Run.
Oh,
The
okay,
site walk was just a reminder that it's
Right.
9 AM.
different road.
Yep.
Okay, update regarding River Road. So TC has been out there a number of times. They did have a discussion about the drainage. Did he answer your question about what we allow?
I have not received a response to that particular email that I sent. I have not I've not been given a response. Actually, he did respond asking for more time, because I did ask him for all of, this was number 20, I believe. I've asked him for 1 through 19 and anything else that has been done. I also asked him for the logs and photos from Tanya Lane, which I have yet to receive. I'm expecting that information to be coming. He is appearing at our next meeting,
April 15th. Oh,
just as a reminder,
is it April?
17.
No,
17th.
April 17th.
17th. Because I keep getting May 15th and April 17th. He will be at our next meeting, where you may pose these questions to him in person.
All right. Was there anything else we needed to talk about on this evening?
No, I just wanted to make the board aware of that there is a report, that drainage was incorporated into the calculations.
Just a question. So obviously, they saw there was an issue, they made a change. They don't have to bring it back to the board or anything? They can make a unilateral change like that?
They can, in that we understand that there will be an as-built plan created at the end of the process. The issue here goes into that further discussion that if they are agreeing to something, they should be agreeing to something that complies with our regulations. And they agreed to something that doesn't comply with our regulations. So it's not uncommon for there to be changes in the construction of the road, and that's why we require that they give us an as-built. If it was something extraordinary, I would expect they would contact us. But evidence is seeming to show maybe they wouldn't. So this discussion next meeting is an important one to have.
Yeah.
Your concerns are noted and worthy, and we're working on it.
But that's one of the questions is what arises to,
Yeah, needing.
what's the threshold to
Right.
come
We,
back?
you know,
to?
in my opinion, there is no threshold. You send me the reports.
Well, that,
It's
yeah.
just an email.
But
Send
before
me the
you
report.
tell the developer, yes,
That
you
it's
can
okay to do. Is
do
what-
that,
what-
yeah.
True. Yeah, I imagine if it was, the flow calculations were greater than what the storage device could hold, then that would have been a problem. But I guess that
That's
it is a relatively tiny
area.
that we're talking about here. But I think that would be something you'd do a major redesign on. But my point is that I would like I want to know every time that they go out there. I think you have the right to know that every time they go out there.
We should get the report.
And we should get those reports. Now, Bruce has a very good point that on every roadway, we get what's called a binder. And I found them in a filing cabinet, that we have a book of sorts that has every log in it, every site visit, and you can request one and look at it. But we're not getting those now. So I think it's important that we continue to get those in the future.
I agree. Anything else on that? All right. Did that. Kingston PA hearing. So,
So the town of Kingston sent you as a really premature notice of regional impact for a project that is before the ZBA for a variance, because they can't do residential development in that zone. It's not allowed. So asking everyone to comment on a plan that isn't allowed at the by local zoning is a really poor thing for them to have done.
who's their planner?
No. This is the ZBA. This is the ZBA.
Sorry.
So, and he and I have spoken about this because it just shouldn't have gone out.
Okay.
Because how can you comment on something that isn't even legal? And now you wouldn't necessarily know it's not legal if you tried to give comment on like how close the structures are. Well, it's not permitted by zoning, so that you couldn't give us any helpful guidance.
Given that they sent this to us, should we reply and just say, we think you should follow your ordinances, or just, something general?
You can reply in any way that
I went down there because I received this in the mail and was like, this is way
What is
too
this?
little information. So I was hoping to get a PDF plan. I was hoping to get anything, something more than what I've received.
but
And
there isn't, because
there isn't.
it's too
anything more.
preliminary for them to have sent this out.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So if it goes to the planning board, we would get another notice.
Yes,
In
you
theory.
absolutely would.
Yes,
And
but this
have-
is a residential development that is in the commercial zone. And
Now,
that's why it's going, I know what you're tying together right now in your mind.
there's a
The-
bill
yeah.
The current legislation.
Well,
There is.
yeah.
that could maybe make this an
Moot,
allowable use,
Yeah.
right?
Well, then it would still go to the planning.
the
board,
Planning board, and we
Uh-huh.
would still get
And you
notice.
would still get a notice of regional.
Mhm.
Where is this exactly? Because it's not where I thought it was.
It's right up at the Marshall Road 125 intersection.
Right.
It's the Magnuson property. It's Magnuson Farm.
Oh,
That didn't take long.
They've actually, the town of Kingston has been looking at design reviews for that site for about 6 years.
Is this where the convenience store was
This is
gonna go?
where the gas station and a couple of restaurants and 20,000 square feet of retail development had been proposed by Summit Development 4 or 5 years ago. And that went to court, and that died on the vine. And so this is another attempt to do something out there.
Hmm.
And they're wanting to do something that is 90% not allowed by zoning. Which is
And-
why they're at the ZBA, in defense of them. It's why they're at the ZBA. But
Right.
the ZBA actually literally continued their hearing in order to make this declaration.
But it says 64 units and 3 commercial.
Yeah.
So 64 residential units?
Yep, well, those are 5 plexes or 6 plexes. Those little brown things are each a 6 plex, I think.
And if I remember correctly, it's a little wet out there.
Yeah, look at the wetlands right behind it. Yeah, right there.
Okay, so how does the board feel about replying to the Kingston ZBA versus just waiting to see
Yeah,
what happens?
I'd say.
If you also read the application, we are designated, it's designated to the town of Brentwood as a regional impact because of water. It's not traffic, it's not anything. But
Well,
water.
I think there was a,
Which would not be the case if it came from the planning board, but that's another issue.
I'm sorry?
It wouldn't be the case if it had come from the planning board. Would have been other reasons why it was.
So you laugh at that. Like, I found that strange as well.
Crazy.
well, there
I
was
found it
something
strange
about
as well.
the road too, and a signal, and that affecting traffic on the edge of Brentwood. So, at least that's the way I read it. There were 2 things. And you're saying there would be other
Yes.
many things? Did you guys have a question or thought on it?
Yeah, well, they're pretty close to the dump, aren't they?
To the what?
The dump?
Landfill.
Oh,
The closed landfill.
It's closed, yeah.
Yes, but all the materials are buried
Usually in a
and
dump,
water
like that.
tends to go down
Well, they're lined. It was a lined,
underneath.
not underneath, no, just
No,
over.
that's what I'm concerned about.
Just over.
I wouldn't want to drink water out of a well near there. That's all. But that's,
I think Connie did for a really long time.
really?
all right. Do we have consensus on letter or no letter?
I would say no letter, just wait for it to get to planning board, if it does.
I tend to agree, especially if it's really something that they can't do legally.
Just so
Yeah.
preposterous.
I agree. I agree.
And you'll keep us informed.
Yes,
Okay.
if they keep me informed. I mean, I didn't learn about this until after they had done it, which, whatever.
Aren't you the town planner?
I don't work with the ZBA
But
clearly
he works with ours.
now, but
Mhm.
that is only recently.
Minutes from March 20th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second it?
Any changes, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Who's the second? Who's-
Brian.
Right, thank you very much.
Any other business?
Yeah, there's something else.
Well, did
I can't-
people
I
want to
can't
talk
write and
about
read.
these
Hold on.
bills?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I can give an update about the bills. Should I go ahead and do that now?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
terrific. All right, so I think Mark handed out to everybody the bills. So I can kind of go through like where each one is, and very generally what they do, although you can see the descriptions there. So before I get into it, I just a little bit of context. So the House and Senate both are almost done with their bills. You know, with the exception of the budget, of course, which the House and Senate will be, which the House will be voting on a little bit later. But so what's going to happen is the bills are starting to cross over into the other chamber. Crossover day, which is when all the bills cross over, is officially in a few weeks, but some bills are already starting to have hearings in the other body. So just wanted to give that context that we're kind of like around the halfway point. And this is when these bills start to kind of take shape. A lot of these bills that pass, especially the ones that pass the House, the version that you see right now is very likely, if the bill does become law, it's very likely going to be changed just because the Senate is very different than the House in so many different ways. So a lot of House bills and then one Senate bill. So House Bill 382 adjusts parking regulations, and this is a bipartisan bill. I know some of the sponsors: Joe Sweeney, Joe Alexander, Jess Grill, Alessandra Murray. The bill, I believe, reduces the state standards for parking space from, I believe, 1.5 spaces to 1 per unit. Yeah, it looks like that is the case. So that bill passed the House and is in committee right now in the Senate and doesn't have a public hearing scheduled for the Senate yet. And then, should I go through all of them or one by one? Or
No, not necessarily. I think if there are any that you want to highlight, I think the ones that I sent to Mark had passed a chamber. There were
yeah, all these ones are ones that passed the
others,
chamber.
but
Yeah.
I printed out the
Yeah.
ones that you'd sent me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have like 4 or 5 more.
Okay.
So House Bill 410. This one is kind of broad, and this one I think if it passes at all, it's going to be changed significantly. It places restrictions on what kind of places a restriction on what kind of restrictions municipalities can put on residential property. So things like lot requirements, square footage requirements, and things of that nature are become more limited. Like for instance, so they say that these restrictions can only be put in place if they meet an extraordinary, the word they use is to serve a compelling government interest in public health or safety. So like I said, it's really pretty broad. There are some standards in it, but I think that this is one that if it goes forward much further, it's going to be amended a lot.
So Glenn, it would just revert everything to lot size by soil type.
I don't know what they determine to be compelling. They're basically giving the towns standards, and you can't change them unless you have a compelling reason to change them.
Is this the one that was 2 acres? Because there was one.
I think they wanted to reduce it, didn't
Yeah,
they?
so it's
There's probably one of those, but I think the one that passed one of the chambers was 2 acres.
that might be a different one.
I mean,
because this one says because they define what extraordinary restrictions are, the kind of extraordinary restrictions that would be prohibited, and one of them is a lot size requirement greater than 5 gross acres per primary dwelling unit, or greater than half a gross acre per primary dwelling unit, if a lot is served by off-site municipal and sewer, or municipal water and sewer, excuse me.
it seems like if there are specific things like that, then you can follow it. But if there's some general, like you can't be restrictive, that anything we did, somebody could challenge in court and say that's too restrictive.
Yeah, I mean, they do have standards in here, but even the standards are kind of broad.
Yeah.
Like 5 gross acres. Yeah, so like I said, I think this is one that is gonna, if it does go forward at all, it'll be amended significantly.
Okay.
Not a fan.
So House Bill 577. So this is the ADU one. This is one that we've been talking about for a while, and we talked last year about a variation of this. This is the one that would allow one detached unit by right. And so it did pass the House, and it had a public hearing in the Senate on March 25th, but it has not been voted on in committee yet. And so the committee will vote on it, and then regardless of what the committee recommends, it will go to the Senate floor for, to be voted on. The ADU bill last year, the Senate killed, but it was a pretty different bill.
Yeah.
That one would have allowed a second unit by right, whereas this one is, if I'm not mistaken, saying it's one unit by right, but it can be either detached or attached.
So overall, you can only have one.
That's my understanding.
Yeah, this seemed a lot better than what we saw last year.
100%.
Yeah.
Now, if this were to pass and we didn't have a detached ADU ordinance in place, could you just build a detached one without following any standards?
I have to double check. I think the bill may lay out that it will be a conditional use type of
Oh,
process.
okay.
That's how it was last year. I think they structured it.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't really say much, but I think in other language too, it's
Yeah.
said basically you still have to meet the setback requirements.
things
And
like
the
that,
well
yeah.
and septic and everything. So.
All right, well, yeah, those standards, but we as a detached ADU ordinance limit its size in comparison to the building that's already constructed.
This is five something?
This is 577.
Yeah.
What I'm really trying to parlay this into is we'd like our detached ADU ordinance to pass. And giving people the reality of this is what the legislature in the state of New Hampshire wants to do. I think they should be aware of that.
From my perspective, the fatal flaw with this one is it subverts the zoning board of adjustment in your town. It says that if you have a non-conforming garage, you can expand that non-conforming garage to put in an ADU. But if you wanted to expand that non-conforming garage to add a bay to your garage, to use the garage as a garage,
Can't do it.
you have to go to the ZBA. But if you want to make it a residence that doesn't meet the setbacks, so would have much more impact on your neighbor, too effing bad. This is the kind of law where they just don't care at all what local zoning is about.
Yeah. Where are you reading that?
It's at the very end of it. It's in section 11 on the very last page. A municipality shall allow accessory dwelling units to be converted from existing structures, including but not limited to detached garages, regardless of whether such structures violate current dimensional requirements for setbacks or lot coverage. So you can make it an entirely more intensive use and bypass the ZBA.
Yeah,
But if you want to
They
make,
snuck that in there.
but if you want to make it just a bigger garage, which is its use,
You can't.
you need the ZBA for that.
Okay.
It's horrifying. All of and there are little bullets of nastiness in most of these laws, and they just don't care.
Yeah.
They're going to reduce an already reduced parking standard to say you only need one parking space. That's insane.
For a two-bedroom, yeah.
And that's insane for us, but that's criminally insane in a city
Yeah.
where space is already at a premium. But they don't care.
Yeah.
They don't care. Okay, I'm editorializing. It's just so frustrating
So why did they do it?
because the housing crisis is so bad.
Well, and we
gonna
talked
make it
about this
worse.
last year when one of our reps came. It's kind of at both ends of the spectrum. So on one end of the spectrum, the concern is availability for housing and fairness and making sure that people can find affordable housing. At the other end of the spectrum is people should be allowed to do whatever they want with their property. And those people have gotten together, and that's why these bills are passing, because they have the numbers, at least so far. Some of
Well,
these.
I personally think that we should not restrict the legislation we have stating you have to have so much property, you have to have this, you have to have that, after that. Now, when you start adding one or two other units, now you've gone from a nice house lot to essentially a slum. And that's what eventually becomes. if there's too many people in this area, then what they should do is head that way, that's north.
Yeah.
There's more land up there, and if you're just gonna keep going, they're gonna add one, and they're gonna see another one, and then you can, pretty soon it's gonna look like downtown Salem, New Hampshire.
All right, we're gonna see you up in
So-
Concord, right, Brian?
Um,
We're gonna see you up in Concord.
That's right.
All right.
Well,
The other
maybe not
thing,
me.
which I don't think is as, I don't know, which is a difficult thing anyways, but it says that you can't have any aesthetic requirements unless you already have those for the single-family dwelling. So those ideas that we talked about, you know, make it look like a cottage or a barn or whatever,
Right.
would
Thrown away.
not be allowed.
Because the
Yeah.
town doesn't know what should be good for the town. The state knows what should be good for the town.
All right,
Yeah, right.
Uh-oh.
next.
I've gotten Mr. Greenwood riled.
But so, before I just address the last couple, I think this is a good example of one where I would encourage everybody to kind of give some thought to what bills we may want to weigh in on and how we may want to weigh in, because I always want to be constructive. And this is an example where we may say to them, you know, we like the idea of ADUs, this is what we're thinking, and this is, you know, the kind of flexibility that we'd like to see. So I would encourage folks not necessarily to make that decision tonight, but give it some thought, because we have a little time. I think that a lot of these bills, the best time for us to weigh in is going to be when they go to a committee of conference. And most of these bills, if they pass the Senate, will probably go to a committee of conference, because the odds of the Senate passing the same version are, especially on the AD.
So you don't think the Senate committee, when there's a Senate committee hearing, we should?
We can. I'm not saying that we shouldn't weigh in. At that point, that could still be useful. But I think that the committee of conference process might actually be strategically the best timing. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't reach out ahead of the Senate hearing. I just think that we should keep the committee of conference process on our
Yeah,
radar.
I've been sending all NHMA articles on these subjects to Eric and Melissa.
Yeah.
Because I think if you read what NHMA has to say about these bills, it's exactly the way that we feel about these bills.
Yeah,
And they formulate some really good arguments, you know, like
Yeah.
they're just well-written rebuttals to these bills.
Yeah, and I haven't looked at all the roll calls, but a lot of these bills, Eric and Melissa both voted against it for the reasons. So
Yeah,
for a lot of the reasons that we've talked about.
She approached me for comment, and
Yeah.
I said, NHMA, here's these great articles. So I sent them to both of them,
Yeah,
and I hope they were helpful.
yeah. This next one, I know both of our reps voted against, and it's very controversial. It's permitting residential building and commercial zoning by right. Now, one thing that I will note about this is that it doesn't, remove all discretion. It's not like we would have to allow big high rises or whatever. Like, you would still be allowed to have height requirements and things like that, so it wouldn't be a complete free for all. But you would have to allow some residential building and commercial zones within certain parameters.
Which we're talking about
Mixed use.
Yeah,
doing,
yeah.
but it's the principle of local, that's a local
Let us
decision.
get there on our own.
Yeah, well, I think that's a lot of the tension is, a lot of communities like us are interested in these things. And, so, yeah, I think part
And
of
a lot of us got grants to
Yeah.
do the work
Yeah.
and figure it out.
yeah, so, yeah, definitely something to, to consider there. So that bill, the residential building and commercial zoning, that public hearing is going to be a week from today on the 10th. That'll be the Senate committee hearing. And then HB 685, permitting all residentially zoned areas to allow manufactured housing by right. I don't know as much about that one, but the title's pretty self-explanatory. That one passed the House and has not been scheduled for a hearing yet in the Senate.
So
Is
they're
it
talking about
what?
dropping in a modular, correct? Then when you
No,
say
manufactured
housing,
housing,
Australia.
so not modular.
Not modular.
It can be a mobile home.
Mobile home.
Okay,
Is that precluded by,
In Brentwood, we allow it.
right,
right.
Because, I'm not even sure why they did this one. 25 years ago, the state passed a law that said Either you allow manufactured trailer parks in your town, or if you don't, you allow them on any building lot that you have in town for residential use. It's as easy as that. Either you allow parks or you allow them to be on individual lots. Well, Town of Brentwood said, we don't want parks. So you can put a manufactured home on any legally buildable lot in Brentwood, which is fine. So why, I'm not sure why they're doing this.
We just have a square
Well,
footage.
I don't know, but maybe there are
requirement.
other towns that don't.
Well, you had to make
That's-
some
yeah.
decision. If you don't allow parks, you have to allow that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but we have a minimum square footage, 750.
Yeah, but I don't think any manufactured homes are created less than 750.
Fair comment.
I don't believe they are.
I have to sit down and do the math.
Okay.
I don't know, maybe a,
Well, 10 foot
maybe a
by,
representative.
like a
wanted-
40-foot by
Visit her
10
name
foot
on
this-
wide, that's 400.
10 by what?
10 by 40.
Do they still make those?
I don't know.
I haven't,
I'm
I
just-
haven't seen a single, I haven't seen a single wide manufactured housing built, I don't think, since 1960.
Okay.
All right, so
I
then
mean, they're all double wides now.
the next one is the one I was thinking of, that's 2
Yeah,
acres.
the Senate bill.
Yes, 84.
Yes, yes. So this last one here, the Senate Bill 84, this one is very unique as it has the rare distinction of being a housing bill that passed the Senate and is now going to the House. So this one actually may not change at all. This one, the House may just pass it straight up, and it may very well go right to the governor as it is currently, because once it passed, the Senate's the big hurdle. So the fact that this passed the Senate makes me think that this one may just happen the way it is now, the way the Senate amended it. And it's also unique because this one is all Republicans. It's 3 Senate Republicans, 2 House Republicans, including the House Majority Leader, Jason Osborne, are sponsoring it. The bill sets maximum lot sizes for single-family residential units.
To what?
So for lots that have municipal water, no ordinance shall require lot sizes greater than 44,000 square feet for single-family residential uses if there are adequate water systems to accommodate such lots. For lots served by municipal sewer infrastructure, the no ordinance shall require lot sizes greater than 22,000 square feet for single-family residential uses. And the requirements will not impact development that was approved prior to July 1, 2024.
And no water and sewers, 88,000 square feet, which
Right.
I think is 2 acres.
Yeah.
Right, it's
Somebody-
basically 2 acres, 1
Yeah.
acre and a half acre. I don't know why they really didn't make it exactly 2 acres, 1 acre and a half acre.
So 88,000 is 2 acres?
Mhm.
Well, an acre is 43,560.
So that wouldn't change.
It would not.
For us.
For us.
Right.
It's still,
It changes.
The
for instance,
principle-
In Kingston, we have 1, if you're in the aquifer protection zone, which is almost 70% of the town, 3 acre requirement. If you're not, it's 2 acres. So this would change that and make everything 2 acres.
Yeah, so I'd be willing to bet money that this one will happen, and I don't have much money, so that's saying something. So I think that out of all the bills, this is the one that is most likely to happen the way it's written right now.
which would not impact us, but would be a big deal for the state.
Oh, huge, yeah.
Oh, yeah, be
It
huge.
would be a big deal for towns like Exeter, where even though they have water and sewer and it goes out further, they choose to have smaller lots interior, and they choose to have larger lots even if you're on sewer and water.
Yeah.
And why the hell can't you do that? It's so irritating.
You should
The
go
whole
up,
thing
you
is so irritating.
you should go up and testify.
But so, like I did last year, take some time to think about what bills you might want to weigh in on. I'm happy to draft letters and reach out to my contacts in the legislature. Obviously, I have, my closest relationships are on the Democratic side, but I am friends with some of the Republicans who are active on these bills, like Joe Sweeney and Joe Alexander and some others. So happy to utilize those connections and, draft some letters. One other quick legislative update, I did send a note on behalf of myself, not speaking on behalf of the board, of course, to the finance committee to try to stop them from cutting funding for our regional planning commissions. They cut it anyway, but, want to send a letter just to, just to offer my 2 cents as a member of the RPC, speaking, from my own personal experience. So I'm happy to circulate that to folks. I was hesitant to send it to everybody because I'm always very careful when it comes to putting everybody on an email, but I'm certainly, I can send it to you, Chris, and you could circulate it if you want.
Okay.
Because seriously,
Yes.
one last thing. If you have water and
Riled
sewer,
up today.
well, if you have water and sewer, it's not at all uncommon for the lots to be 10,000 square feet. So a quarter of an acre. So they're saying, if you have both, it's okay to say it should be twice as much. But the science says it doesn't need to be, because they're not looking at science.
Not to mention the water and sewer system might have been designed based on the zoning and buildability.
It's
Or maxed
so
out.
wrong. It's so wrong.
Yeah.
I have one more, I know it's getting late, I do have one more item, just to make everyone aware of. So the RPC, over the past year or so, they have been working on developing what's called a safety action plan. They won a grant, a federal grant called the SS4A Safe Streets for All, to do this. And it's like a 2-step process. Basically, the first round of grants, or first few rounds of grants, were for the action plan, which is a prerequisite in order to get implementation funding, which is the next round. And them doing this plan, it covers the entire region. So in a nutshell, Brentwood now has, it's unlocked the ability for Brentwood to apply for implementation grant funding if we want to, because RPC did the first step. It still has to be like formally approved. We just voted in the TAC committee to approve it, and I think it'll go to the policy committee next. Have you seen, have you guys talked about it, Doug, at the policy committee?
Not yet.
It
no.
was just like
Yeah.
a week or so ago, so it'll probably be at your next one.
Yeah, I mean, I heard about it, but it hasn't come up though.
So once that's formally adopted or approved, now all the towns within the region could apply for implementation funding. The Dave Walker at the RPC has mentioned several times that the Brentwood South Road roundabout or other improvements to be determined could be a good candidate for that funding. He thinks it would be a strong contender. Right now, it's tentatively programmed on the 10-year plan. It still has to go through all the political process. You never know what could happen, but the TAC voted to submit it, which means it's at least 10 years out from getting designed even, and then construction be a few more years. So the Safe Streets for All program is sort of a shortcut. If we were to apply for the grant and win, it would expedite that. The implementation, the latest round of implementation funding and the grant application window has opened. The notice of funding opportunity was just released, and the applications are due in late June, I believe. So I just wanted to make everyone aware of that. I know based on kind of the talk of the last grant I brought up to everybody, the appetite for pursuing grants is a little up in the air. Not sure if people will go for it, but I thought it's worth talking about.
I think any grant opportunity that's going to help with that intersection is worth exploring,
Yeah.
100%.
I agree.
So some,
They're not excited about the rec center. But South Road, that's a
Well,
worthy cause.
Not all are excited about a roundabout, but they are excited about. some sort of
yeah,
improvement.
and I think
Right.
that the first step would be to do an analysis, see if a roundabout is the right choice.
Right.
Roundabout's what's being put forward because that's the most expensive option, so plan for the most expensive
And you
option.
can go down from there, yeah.
So some key things to consider if we wanted to go down this road. It's a very competitive program. It's national. And my understanding, just from colleagues at work, because we have a whole team that focuses on this grant program, it's bigger cities that tend to get the money, sadly, because they have the resources to hire a consultant and pay
Right, to
them
do the
$20,000 to do a very fancy application. Like
Mhm.
I happen to know that we charged the city of Lebanon like $15,000 to do an application for the first round. And this round's more involved. So
Did they
And-
get it? Did Lebanon get it?
I think so, yeah. So I mean, like, I'm not trying to advertise for my company. I'm just saying I happen to know like how much it might cost.
Does
So-
the RPC, will the RPC do it for us?
I don't think so.
Too-
I think
too
they did
complicated.
the first part to be like, okay, we took care of this. It's on you guys now.
The
I would
town
think-
has a part-time grant writer?
So I think her contract ended in a recent, I don't want to speak for her, in a recent communication, she indicated like if there was a exciting opportunity, she might be willing to consider helping out. I don't know if she, and not to
Otherwise,
speak
no.
ill of her, I don't know if her background and capabilities would work for this one. Like, my understanding is usually it's like a civil engineering consulting firm working with their own internal or subbed out marketers and graphic designers to prepare like a very high level professional application with, it's the graphics that really ramp up the cost. The ones we've done have had a lot of like fancy, expensive graphics. So, I don't know if the town has that kind of money, wants to spend it. It could be worth it to skip ahead 10 years, but there's no guarantee. Also, if we were to win the grant, I haven't done a detailed read through, but I am pretty sure there's probably a local match component. So if the project is gonna cost, DOT's estimate for 10 years in the future, so including inflation, was like 7 or 8 million. The RPC's estimate was half that, so.
Right.
But
Which is why Portland gets these grants.
yeah, so 20% of, 4 million or 8 million, whatever it is, that's a lot for a small town to come up with. So things to think about. I'm happy to kind of provide any technical assistance if we want to do it, but I think me cobbling together an application on the weekends probably won't
Not gonna
win
do
it for us for this one. I think we'd wanna,
You're a pretty
I've
good
seen
cobbler.
I've seen your youngest son's artwork. I think
Yes.
he's there
He
for the graphics.
he could be,
Freddie-
yeah, he
he's
could
Freddie-
be there for graphics.
Freddie will pump up the graphics.
It's too bad that it can't just win on the merits of, here's the safety study and here's what the DOT has said and here are the accidents that have happened.
Yeah.
there.
Maybe it could, we could dig in and see who has won and see if we can access their applications and if there are any like.
Small
you know.
town, they should have a small town category, right?
Well, that's the whole rural and tribal assistance.
Yeah.
The goal of that one is to,
Replace their town, Brentwood.
but
Scribble it out.
yeah,
Can you find out if there is a match component? Because I think that would be
yeah, I'll try
Yeah,
to find
if it does, then
the
it's
concrete
probably a
information about
non-starter.
that.
Okay,
There's always the 10-year plan.
there's always the 10-year plan.
Yeah,
We appreciate your hard work. Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you,
no
thank you,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Plan 20-year construction
yeah.
schedule.
Wasn't there a safety, didn't Janet Stevens say there was some other potential way to
Yeah, it
speed
was
that
safety
up?
funds that did the
Right.
two.
So
Right,
that's,
so
that's
far.
already, like, that's been done, the Highway Safety Improvement Program. That, what's out there today is
Oh,
what they
that use
did.
the
Like,
emergency
they have washed their
funds.
hands of it.
Oh,
Would-
okay.
There would need to be more accidents and problems for them to revisit it.
I'll
Which
take one for the
hopefully-
team.
I was
Just
gonna
crash
say-
my car.
I was gonna say,
Like-
how about all the planning board members just have accidents out there?
Hard pass.
Crash test dummies. What's going on?
Any other business?
No.
I just have one thing. I'm kidding.
Oh, yeah, yes.
I have one thing.
Oh, Christ. Seriously?
Mine's gonna be real quick, because I think I know the answer. Go ahead.
I don't really have one.
Oh, you don't?
He
No,
was being
God.
sarcastic.
He was kidding.
I was,
You make me so mad. So, lectern. Lectern. Has anybody seen our new lectern?
What?
No.
No.
oh, is that it down in the other room?
No, that's the old lectern that we
Oh, I was
hid
gonna
in the
say,
basement
that
at
looks
Swayze.
horrible.
And then the firemen got it and then wanted to bring it back, but realized it was closed and dumped it on our doorstep. So,
What's a lectern?
Where is our,
what is a lectern?
where is it?
Yes.
It's where you,
Like-
it's
like
where
a
you,
podium?
I-
it's where you
Can-
lecture from.
Does
A
somebody want
podium
to
where you stand and lecture
make a
from.
motion?
They're
Because
called the
we
lectern.
can go
Okay.
look at it, but let's.
We paid someone $800 already as a deposit on it. I think Bruce was the contact person for that.
Yes, he was.
So
And
is it-
Bruce,
Is it here?
no, it's not here. I'm saying, where is it?
Oh.
We put a deposit on something in last November, and we haven't seen any,
That is a Bruce question. He was working with.
and I know Bruce watches these. Bruce Stevens,
Okay.
Do we have a motion?
I'm looking at you.
I'll make a
Please, a
motion to it.
Where's my
Do we have
lectern?
a second?
Second.
All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye. Please turn off your microphone.
Hmm.